So we all know that I am a big fan of TikTok. It's probably my number one social media that I'm on constantly, unfortunately. But there's this new trend going around where it's this song, They Call Me, and then she lists all these different nicknames that she's called. And it got me thinking, if I ever were to do one, what would my nicknames be? I don't really have many nicknames, but the top 2 that come in my head are the 2 that my parents call me. So my mom calls me Stinky. Don't know why.
It's because you're stinky. I've been meaning to talk to you about
because you're a pig lover.
Honestly, probably Stinky because I'm stinky. I was younger. I did not want to shower, but now I love to shower. It's just really relaxing. And then my dad, don't know where this came from at all. Don't know the background or anything. He calls me Joey.
Okay, like a kangaroo, maybe.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, so I don't really
cute.
know. I've asked him before. I was like, where did you come up with this nickname? He said, he doesn't really know
He was just really into Dawson's Creek for a while.
Yeah.
Isn't there a character named Joey in Friends?
There is, but he didn't start watching Friends till a couple of years ago when I became a huge fan of it. So it's definitely not from that either. So I don't really know where that's from. So Dad, if you're listening, let me know because I'm curious as to how you got that nickname. I was wondering if you guys have any fun or clever nicknames that you're called by someone in your life.
Oh, God, I don't have any nicknames. My husband, when we first started dating, called me Banana, and I think it's like Shauna Banana or something.
Oh, that's cute.
Banana. Yeah, I got nothing. My Twitter handle is Beazle Bay, which I think is pretty cute. I mean, I guess it should be like Beazzle Bay, #Satanism. But.
No one's ever gone to you in the street and like, oh, it's Beazzle Bay.
It's Beazzle Bay from Twitter. What up? And then my Fitstagram is Beazzle Buns, so that's kind of
nice.
fun. But yeah, that's about it. Either fruit or Satanism.
You're like, dear mutuals, if you see me in the street, give me a holler. Yeah, I don't know. Speaking of Friends, I think of like the episode where Ross tries to get everybody to call him like a nickname. Like he gives himself a nickname and everyone's like, we're not going to do that.
You can't give yourself a nickname.
No. Right.
Yeah.
But you kind of can. And here's why. So I used to play music for like years and years and years. And when I was thinking of like what to call myself, I didn't want to just go by my name. So I was trying to come up with like something clever. And my dad used to always call me from work to check in like every day. And he'd always go, is this Hayley the Brave and Strong?
Aww.
And so I called myself Hayley the Brave. And then that just kind of stuck. And so it stuck when I was playing music. And then when I started my podcast, that's just kind of
Nice.
what I stuck with. So that's kind of now what people call me.
That's cute.
So,
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Credit to my dad on that one.
Yeah, that's dope. I feel like I've had a ton of nicknames growing up. There's like one nickname for every like part of my life. And at least like when I was a kid, my mother used to call me Negrito, which means blackie in Spanish. So, I mean, because I'm her darkest child. And then at some other point, I was like maybe like 10 to 12 years old. Somebody called me Veggie Boy. And like all the neighborhood kids would call me Veggie Boy after that.
Did you eat a lot of vegetables?
It happened because I wanted mushroom pizza. And they thought it was weird that I wanted mushrooms on my pizza. I was like, oh, look at this Veggie Boy. And then actually all of my nicknames I've kind of hated until I got used to them. There was Sarnie. That was just because my friends saw a laundromat and was like, hey, let's name him that. And then we're calling me that for a while. But, I appreciate the friendship, so I appreciate the name now. People call me Ace in high school sometimes. Splash when I was in college.
We don't want to know why they called you Splash.
I was confused why people calling me Splash in college. Like for the entire time, people were just like, yo, Splash, Splashington, Splashingsworth. I'm like, what are you saying? And they were like, you don't know what Splash is? And then it was like, just search Jim Jones Splash. And I guess it has to do with like the drip. Like your clothes just dripping.
Okay. I was thinking like Urban Dictionary style.
I was thinking like Daryl. I was like Daryl Hannah as a mermaid or whatever.
We all had very different thoughts on what Splash is.
Yeah, that's the thing. I wasn't sure because there's just so many things that could connect to that.
Well, we're all going to have to give each other nicknames at some point. Just think on it a little bit.
I'll just have to look at you guys the way I like see my children because I call them everything except for their names.
Yeah, same.
Yeah,
And,
it's like my dog.
Super random stuff that has
like-
nothing to do with anything.
I call my son Senor Baby, Mr. Baby.
Your baby.
Yeah, I call him everything that's not his name.
Okay, well, adopt us all, Haley, and then you two adopt us both, and then we can think
Very
of
well.
some nicknames.
Send me some baby pictures, Stan. Coming in hot from Olympus Games in Mesa, Arizona.
It's the Pop Culture Junkie podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Pop Culture Junkie podcast. I'm Nicole, and I'm here with my fellow junkies. Please introduce yourselves so the audience knows who they're listening to.
Hello, audience. I'm Hayley.
Audience, this is Alex.
Hello, dear audience. This is Shauna.
Oh, I like that voice.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, that's kind of like that. Ooh, I like that laugh.
When I did my meditation app like last year, it's not my meditation app. I was looking for like gigs to try to get paid because I was like struggling. I took a voiceover for like a meditation app, and that was my voice.
Nice.
I like
You're
it.
driving through the mountains. I'll send you all the link.
soothing.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but my January was absolutely terrible. Probably the worst way I could have started off my year.
I saw your tweet.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So I'm very happy that we are in a new month. It's February finally. I felt like January lasted for
7
10
years.
weeks. Yeah.
At least 31 days.
It felt like it lasted way longer than that. But hopefully this new month means new beginnings for all of us, even if you're not struggling. But
Amen.
yes.
Yeah, we got February here. You know, February, Black History Month. Just shout out to all
Yes.
the
Woo,
Black
yes.
life and history out there.
Yes.
February's my favorite month. It's my birthday month and my wedding anniversary.
Oh, there
and I'm
you
a
go.
sucker for Valentine's Day.
There's a lot.
Dang.
You know,
Yeah.
A lot of
Looking
stuff
forward
going on. A
it.
lot to celebrate.
So speaking of Black History Month, let's just jump into our recommendations. And I know, Alex, you wanted to plug some Black history type movies.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm excited because it's February, Black History all day. You know, Black History is every day for me. But you know, it's exciting that we're here, and you know, I guess it's a topic of conversation. But you know, there's Black everything. You know, PBS has a lot of good documentaries on just like Black history, and obviously, you know, there's a lot of biopics out there that you can watch. Like Ray, that's a good one with Jamie Foxx. There's like there's other ones. What was that? There's Jackie Robinson if you're looking for like sports movies. Maybe you're into like some fantasy stuff like Django Unchained
I love
or
that
like
movie.
stuff like, you know, Jordan Peele suspense. I mean, I guess not really like history, but you know, there's a lot of Black stuff out there, you know. And so I challenge everybody, listeners, and challenge you guys too. Like when we come back, maybe after the Keanu 101, what is some, you know, Black, you know, entertainment that you've probably indulged in? Extra points for like history related stuff. But I mean, it's Black History Month. We celebrating, and it's not just for Black people. It's American history. You know, it's actually much more than just American history because being Black is global. But yeah, celebrating all day, every day.
Yes.
Represent.
I got to shout out just a couple favorite things that for my kids, like if you're a parent and you're wanting to celebrate Black History Month with your kids, there's a really great Netflix series that is Kevin Hart's Guide to Black History. It's got comedians and it's all family friendly.
That's cool.
And you can absolutely sit down and watch it with your kids. And then there's also this new, it's a cartoon, and it's called Ada Twist Scientist. And it's awesome. It's all about science. It teaches kids science, but it's done, and I don't want to get this wrong, but I want to say it was like produced or sponsored by Michelle Obama. And
I've heard that. It was.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a friend who's a science teacher, and she's obsessed with that show.
Yeah, and my kids love it. And so it's just awesome. So there's just so much great
Yeah, for
content
real.
out there, and to
That's
have
the thing,
those
too.
conversations with your kids,
Like
for sure.
these platforms have those collections, like those Black Voices collections that you can just find. And I think, you know, they pretty much have them all year round. So check them out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, other things that I've watched. I'll come back, and talk about some Black History stuff I've watched next time. But things that I watched recently, I watched you Nicole, you said you weren't able to, you haven't.
I haven't started it, but
Okay.
I definitely will.
So yeah, I'm talking about Woman in the House Across the Street from the Girl in the Window.
I really want to
Now
watch
catch your breath.
Title.
Yeah, I watched it because of the title. I was like, this is going to be ridiculous. This is funny. Like, it reminded me of, like, Don't Be a Menace while drinking juice, like that kind of. So it's kind of like a play. It's definitely a parody, I think. All right.
Ish.
Let me tell you, I was confused throughout the entire time. And I was confused because I wasn't really sure how to feel. Because at one moment, I'm like, biting my nails, like something like crazy is going to happen. Because it's suspenseful. There's that thriller kind of feeling to it. But then just something exaggerated just happens. And Kristen Bell, she plays the lead. And she's like narrating it. And sometimes she says some random stuff. And just like
she's so funny.
Yeah, it is funny. It is funny. And even like the tombstone, I had to like double take. There was a kind of like a tombstone for her daughter who was murdered in the most extreme way. But even just how extreme it was made it kind of funny. It's really weird.
You're like, am I laughing at the death of this
Yeah, that's
child?
what I'm saying.
What's going on?
It was gruesome. But it's like, what?
I'm gonna have to give it a try.
Yeah.
I love Kristen Bell, and I don't know. Yeah, just the title, and I like ridiculousness.
Yeah, it's there's what other movies are like that? At least that it's based out of, like The Woman in the Window. Is that a movie?
And then
Yeah.
there's the woman on the train or something like that, isn't it? There's a movie about a train. The girl on the train.
Yeah, I think that's a movie.
Actually, I watched The Woman in the Window recently, and it's very similar because it's just this like alcoholic, just like drinking this like jumbo wine. She pours entire bottles of wine.
I mean, that's
into her
literally
glass.
me. Listen,
Like,
just staring out my window.
You're like, is this a documentary? Is this the Truman Show? And I didn't know.
just staring out the window while the rain falls. But it's Phoenix, so it never rains.
oh yeah, and she's afraid of rain. Like,
I knew it.
so much going on. There's just so much going on.
Yeah, the title of this show reminded me of what is it, The Woman in the Window? Or
Yeah.
something? Yeah, it reminded me of that title. So I was like, okay, must be maybe a play on that or something. So, but this is definitely on my watch list on Netflix. So after hearing that, I'm definitely gonna have to watch it before next week.
I mean, yeah, it's a good show. I don't. It's a fun watch. It's funny now that I'm like repeating it and like talking about
Actually,
it.
hearing yourself talk
Like,
about
yeah,
it,
that
like,
was
is this a
funny,
real
wasn't
show?
Yeah.
Like I didn't know how I felt, but now that I think about it, it was pretty great.
The other thing that I watched this week was Aziz Ansari's new special on Netflix called Nightclub Comedian. And I kind of just happened to hear about this. I was listening to Kevin Hart's interview with Aziz. He has his like Comedy Goldmines podcast. And Aziz was the guest and was talking about filming a special that he did in October, but it wasn't really a special. It was just like him walking into a nightclub, like one of those like comedy clubs, and just doing a set and just recording that bit. And so they released it on January 25th, and he was like, "Oh, that's the closest time that Netflix was able to do it because I still want to maintain like the relevance of just the material that I have." Mm-hmm. And I watched it, and it's really good. You know, Aziz, I know him like to be really smart and funny. You know, gets you like thinking about things. He actually reminded me of like Dave Chappelle's like style, and even because he talks about empathy in the special, like talking about like, you know, we have to like hear each other's like points of views, and he has this like thing like this explanation on like how people are stuck to their like algorithms, like you're following your algorithm, and take a step back and like maybe go into another algorithm. But he really gets you thinking, and obviously including comedy into it. So it's like somewhat funny, but still fun because it's Aziz.
I'm an Aziz Ansari fan. I'm gonna give it a whirl. I've seen him live, and he was pretty good.
Netflix, right?
Yeah. It's only half an hour long.
Oh,
Nice.
Yeah.
I love anything a half hour long. Like I can watch that during my lunch break.
Yeah, apparently like him and like Kevin Hart and like Chris Rock would just go to these different comedy clubs and just like surprise audience.
Can you imagine being in a club and all of a sudden like some famous comedian walks in and does a short little set and is like, bye?
The closest thing I have to that was when I was 18 years old. I saw Jim Gaffigan at the Tempe Improv. It was before he became who he is today, but after his Comedy Central special. So he was like kind of well known. But his opening act was Tig Notaro.
What?
And nobody knew who she was.
That's
Absolutely
so cool.
nobody. So we became huge Tig Notaro fans. And then she went on tour of people's houses. And she played in my friend's backyard. She performed in my friend's backyard.
That's
and this
sick.
is like way before like anybody knew who she was.
You
So I
and
was like,
Tig Notaro are basically best friends.
I mean, it's basically my claim to fame. I have this picture with her when I was 18 and, you know, in my buddy's backyard. It was cool. So, yeah.
That's sick. I wasn't here last week because I was working my ass off. So I really haven't watched much, unfortunately. But I did watch the first 2 episodes of How I Met Your Father. And I think you watched them too, right, Hayley?
I did. I watched the first 3.
Nice. You know, I'm a big Hilary Duff fan. I've always really liked her from Lizzie McGuire. I liked her music. A Cinderella Story. Listen.
I had the illest crush on Hilary Duff.
She's so cute. Hilary Duff supremacy all day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to keep giving it a try. I don't know. I like Kim Cattrall too, and I think that it had some funny parts. I did kind of like the what they call it when they were taking pictures with people who look like Jason Momoa.
Yeah.
That made me laugh.
That was good.
So I'm interested to see where it goes and to see what kind of twists they have, because I know How I Met Your Mother always had so many cute little twists and it was so heartfelt. So I don't know if it's going to get me to that level, but I do like how diverse the cast is, which How I Met Your Mother certainly was not. So I think I'm going to give it a little try.
Does it have that, like, because I think I remember How I Met Your Mother, at least from what I've watched, they were like at a restaurant or something, conversating.
A bar. They're always at a bar, and they always get the same booth every time they go, which must be nice.
Mm-hmm.
Is it the same with the How I Met Your Father? Is it that kind of setup?
You know, the first 2 episodes I watched, the first one they definitely went to a bar, but I don't know if it's going to reoccur. And then the second one they went to a nightclub, but I don't think that one's going to show up again.
Yeah.
So I don't know yet.
A bar is present.
Yeah.
Because one of the characters owns it, but it does not seem to be as much of a focal point. The apartment that they live in is Marshall and Lily's apartment, and that is referenced in the first episode.
Yeah,
they
like some
talk
old
about.
married couple sold it to us.
Yeah.
Like, how old would Marshall and Lily even be?
I know.
Like, not old at all.
And
but-
left their swords on the wall, so those are still there, which is cool. Yeah, I think I'm gonna give it this kind of first season, and just see how it plays out. I love How I Met Your Mother. I know the ending is controversial and it sucks, but the show itself, I've watched all the way through 3 times.
Yeah.
And that's an elite group of shows that like I've devoted that much time to. And so I want to like this one. It definitely is more diverse. I don't know how I feel about like how updated it is. There were some times where I was like, we get it, it's 2022. Like they're like talking about Tinder and podcasts and all the things where you're just like, we get it.
Yeah.
And I didn't even recognize Kim Cattrall, BT Dubs. I had to.
That's her. That's what she's doing instead of being on And Just Like That.
I was like, she looks familiar. I had to go to IMDb and I was
Yeah.
like, what?
That's her.
I had no idea.
I can see Hilary Duff growing up to be Kim Cattrall.
Yeah.
I don't know. She's like, but she's kind of alone in this fabulous apartment just chugging wine, which, I mean, cool, but also like, how did she get there? I don't know.
Yeah, I feel at current, there's no like standout, real strong character.
Yeah.
You know, where you had Barney coming in like a bat out of hell in the very first episode. It was just like very clear about who he was.
They all kind of meld together at this point.
Yeah, there's kind of like a knockoff Zac Efron in there. And so I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see. That's going to be it. We're going to hot potato this. We'll see.
We'll see.
And that was all I watched this week, besides the inside of my eyelids. Back to you guys.
Yeah, so aside from How I Met Your Father, I did check out a comedy special this week on HBO Max from a comedian named Moses Storm. I saw a lot of people posting about it, and so I was like, oh, I'll check it out. I had no idea what to expect.
It's kind of a sick name.
Right? I actually felt really bad for not knowing who he was beforehand because he has really close connections with Conan O'Brien. Conan O'Brien produced his special, kind of helped him write some of it, and has really launched this kid's career. And he's living my dream. He was an avid Conan O'Brien fan, grew up watching him, taping his show, and then now gets to be buddies with him. In fact, he was just on his Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend podcast episode that came out this week. But the special is called Trash White. And what I will say about it is at the very beginning, he says, what I'm not going to do is do one of those comedy specials that comes across like a TED Talk. And then he pulls out a PowerPoint clicker and he proceeds to give a TED Talk. And that's one of the best jokes in the special. But he talks about it's funny. Everything he talks about is funny. But it's also like how you're talking about how you don't know how to feel. A lot of the stories that he shares are like deeply traumatic. He grew up in absolute poverty in a really kind of abusive home. Not physically abusive per se, but emotionally and mentally abusive. And so he talks about how he's come to terms and kind of forgiven his mom because as he's grown up, he's learned what poverty does to people and that it creates this fear in you and that fear leads to kind of crazy behavior. And so he takes you on this journey through growing up in poverty and what that was like. And then he also tells jokes along the way. And so it was, at times I was like, is this a comedy special?
Interesting.
Because it's sad and painful and also really, really, really funny. It's on HBO Max. It's called Trash White. I definitely recommend it. I really liked it. I immediately went to his socials, started following all of his socials and just consuming as much kind of content because I wanted to like learn more about him. And it was funny, actually, today I went to his Instagram and I said, I'm going to manifest that you and I will be friends one day, just like you manifested that with Conan O'Brien.
Did he follow you?
He replied back and he said, I can't tell you that that's not going to work. So there you go. I'm one step closer to being friends with Moses Storm. But yeah, definitely check it out if you like, if you like stuff that kind of subverts genres and you like comedy, but you also
like tragedy.
And maybe learning a thing or two or broadening your perspective. So there you go.
For me, I didn't really watch very much, but I did read a book.
What?
Yeah, I have a lot
What is this book you speak?
I know. I felt the same way, but I have a lot of downtime at work, so instead of using my data on my phone to watch something, I decided to read a book. And this book I read is called God Bless This Mess, and it's by Hannah Brown, who was a former Bachelorette star, and she was on The Bachelor as well, which was where she started off her kind of fame, if that's what you want to call these types of celebrities.
I mean, she wrote a book. That's pretty impressive.
And the book was honestly so much better than I was expecting. It's an autobiography on her life, and I relate to it so much. And it's crazy how much I related to it with the little things that she would talk about. She grew up in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and her parents had like a very non-traditional marriage. They loved each other, but they would fight all the time. And she always was scared when her parents would fight and would hide in her room and like cover her head with a pillow to not hear them screaming and stuff. And then when she was super young, her aunt and her cousins, 2 young cousins, they were like 6 and 2 or something, were murdered.
Jeez.
And so she had to go through that as a young kid. Her and her 6-year-old cousin were the same age. So at 6 years old, she had to deal with this huge tragedy in her life. And it kind of just continued through there. She kind of got bullied in school because she liked art, and everyone kind of made fun of her for that. And
Veggie boy. No,
and then she went to high school, had a couple relationships that just didn't work out very well. And then she went to college and she did beauty pageants. She became like Miss Alabama and stuff. So everyone kind of was just jealous of her because she was getting all this attention, and all of her friends were kind of just like not wanting to vibe with her anymore because of all this, and she was focused on her pageant career and stuff. But yeah, it was a lot better than I was expecting. She talks about her time on The Bachelorette and all the struggles she had to go through in order to complete this. The person that she ended up with, Jed, ended up pretty much cheating on her during the show, and she had no idea until
Wait.
after the show.
Ew.
During the show. But isn't that the premise of The Bachelorette? Is there?
Well, she
No,
can cheat on
she-
him, but
yeah.
he can't
Oh,
cheat on her.
I see what you mean. So she had
Her
a bunch of
fiancé.
dudes.
Yes, but
Okay.
he was only supposed to be focusing on one girl, but he had another girl back home. Yeah.
Okay,
so
I got that totally reversed.
I feel like
No,
I'm not
you're good.
surprised by that though, because I feel like that's like I feel like I've heard stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
I've got a girlfriend, but I'm going to go on.
for the fame,
Yeah,
for the clout.
exactly.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like I said, it's just a really good book, and
Nice.
she talks about her life. And like I said, I've really felt connected to it because I understand some of the things she's talking about. She's kind of talked about like what was her purpose in life, and she's finally finding it. Whereas I'm at that point in my life too. I'm like, what's my purpose here on Earth? Like, what am I supposed to be doing here? Still trying to figure that out. But reading her books definitely brought like clarity and stuff, and just the way she describes some things is just really eye-opening. So if you're kind of struggling or wondering like what to do or anything, I would totally recommend her book because it's very, very good. And she gives really good advice on how to just become yourself and accept the person that you are and the body that you're in.
Nice.
Yeah.
That sounds cool.
3 cheers for reading.
Yay, read.
Literacy.
I have so many half-read books that I need to power through. Oh my
I
God.
like started January. I was like on a roll. I read like 3 books. I was like, it's going to be my year. And then I don't know, the past 2 weeks I just like dropped off. So I got to get back into it. I'm feeling motivated.
Yeah,
Thanks,
I
Nicole.
just started reading as an adult. I hated reading growing up.
It's because now
Ever
we
in
get
my
to read
life.
for pleasure instead of like your
Yeah.
teacher telling you you have to read Huck Finn. You're like, I don't want to read
Also,
Huck
the only
Finn.
thing I read was the Bible growing up. So, it was kind of
I
the
mean,
same
yay.
story.
That's very different though. It's like reading for, not for entertainment,
Yeah.
not for, I think too, like as an adult, I do something I call read dating, where like I'll take a book and I'll just like read the first few pages and I'll see like how it makes me feel. It's like going on a first date, right?
okay.
And if I'm like, yes, I want a second date, then I'll like read more. But if I am not feeling it, then I put the book down and I don't read it. And I feel like when I was younger, at least, and even like in college, I felt like I didn't have that freedom to be able to go, I'm going to put this down.
You have to read this.
was like
you
if I-
have to write an essay and time's
Exactly.
right is tomorrow.
Or it was like everyone's talking about this, so I
Yeah.
have to read it so I can be in the know and be hip with the kids when they're talking about Fight Club. You know what I mean? So it was like I have to read this thing even if I'm not into it. So, yeah,
In conclusion, read books for pleasure, not pain.
indeed.
Yes.
And support your local libraries.
Yeah. Yeah. There's that app. Didn't I mention that app? Libby? It's my favorite app, actually.
Does it show you where your libraries are and stuff?
Well, it lets you download digital books and audiobooks
Oh, nice.
from your local library. You just put in your
cool.
library card and then bam.
That's awesome.
I need to find my library card. Everyone go find your library card.
I do not have
Libby.
one.
Okay, I'm going
I
to get
just
on
registered. I don't have one. I just went to Phoenix Library and signed up.
that. And Audible is really great if you love like audiobooks. Because you can find like they're often narrated by the author, which is really cool.
I'm going to sound like such a, I don't know, boomer. I like holding a book in my hand.
Oh, yeah.
I do
That's
too.
good.
These newfangled apps.
Yeah.
I do too. But Audible has been nice. Like I listened to Tina Fey's autobiography and Amy Poehler's autobiography all while I was like at the gym.
Yeah.
So that's kind of nice
Or if
too.
you have like a commute to work.
yeah, or a road trip or something.
Yeah, exactly. And I think too, like sometimes I'll listen to an audiobook and then I'll want to buy that book because then you can like go back and like really like dive into it on your own.
And sometimes, especially if you ever struggled with reading, sometimes you can listen to the audio and read it at the same time.
Ooh, it's like being in school and the teacher reading to you.
And then
Exactly.
Just talk
Except,
about how he didn't want that.
well, but you get to pick it this time, and like Pedro Pascal's narrating or some jazz, so it's better.
I would like to hear Denzel Washington read my book.
Or Morgan Freeman.
Yeah.
Oh, that's who I meant.
Denzel can read too.
I was like, that's not. You guys were all just like, okay. And
I mean, he's got a
That
nice
makes sense.
voice.
That's
She
what I
just
wanted.
wants handsome men to read to her.
Just like that
Definitely
other
Morgan
nice,
Freeman.
handsome man.
You could also use Audible to listen to your favorite podcasts like Pop Culture Junkie.
No
I
way.
didn't
Oh
think
my
you could do
God,
that.
right? You can,
I thought it
totally.
was just books.
That's
Nope.
crazy.
Pop Culture Junkie as well.
Did you know that some podcasts are starting to do video now? Like even through the streaming service. So you could be on Spotify, and if there's like a video, it'll pop up while you're listening to it. Did you know that?
This sounds like a commercial.
Oh my God.
That's pretty cool. Maybe that's why Pop Culture Junkies are creating so much more video content.
Oh my gosh. Have we seen our boy Tom Brady in those Subway commercials?
Oh yeah, and the Hertz rent-a-car like electric thingy.
I
He's
don't
all
have
over
cable.
the place.
Do you
Yeah,
people
for
have
real.
cable?
You know, I was just trying to transition.
Hulu,
to, you know,
ads, man.
Oh,
I've been watching a lot of It's Always Sunny. in
Yeah,
Philadelphia.
Alex and I pay that goods price, so we don't have to watch ads.
Well, I still live at home, so I don't pay for anything. But,
50% more expensive.
it looks like he'll be doing a lot more commercials in the future because he announced his retirement.
Wah, wah.
TB12.
Yeah, but ESPN announced his retirement, and then a couple hours later he said, "Oh, I'm not retired. I don't know what you're talking about." And then on Tuesday he came out on Twitter with statements that he retired. Instagram and Twitter, he put like the Notes app type situation that every celebrity did.
Love the Notes app.
So he posted that, and I find it really interesting. I know when he left the Patriots, he thanked them and everything, but with retirement, like you were leaving this career forever. And me personally, I would still thank everyone that was involved in it, especially the team where I won my Super Bowls and the team that probably made me who I was. But not once in his retirement letter, note, speech, whatever you want to call it, did he mention the Patriots. He only mentioned
Yeah,
Tampa Bay and some other people. And I was just wondering why. I know they kind of have some bad blood with one another, but for the fans' sake, just at least thank the New England Patriots fans.
You almost said New York. I was about to flip tables.
No, sorry. I caught myself.
I am a New England Patriots fan, lifelong. Tom Brady has been the only football player that I've known play. I guess until recently, play for the Patriots. And honestly, as a diehard Patriots fan, I'm not upset about that. Like, yeah, he mentioned in his like departure from the Patriots how much he appreciated it.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's enough for me.
Okay.
I know he's the GOAT. I know he's the best. I know where those rings come from. He finished with the Buccaneers. You know, it's okay to give them his respects.
Yeah.
Because, obviously he got a ring there too. And he's just amazing. Anything that he does can't be wrong.
Tampa Bay fans are like, crap, we suck again.
We suck again.
Back to obscurity.
Do you think he wears one on each finger just around the house? Because I absolutely would. I would just be wearing those things all the time.
7?
Like
Seven, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I would
Absolutely.
show it off. I don't care if it's just my kids. I'd punch them in the face with the rings on.
Oh
and be
God.
like, this is where you came from.
Don't ever have children, Nicole.
I don't plan on it.
I would just wear
Nicole's like,
mine to,
what's my
Walgreens
purpose on the earth? To punch kids with Super
to
Bowl.
catch these hands.
I'm totally kidding. Child services do not come for me.
I for one am very happy that Tom Brady is retiring, only because yes, he's the GOAT, but it's like the same thing that happened with like LeBron for a number of years, where it's just like you're always there, you never go away. Like I saw this thing that said for the first time in 19 years, we're not getting like Brady, Manning, Roethlisberger, or the 49ers in the Super Bowl.
Right. It's
And
refreshing.
It's so refreshing. Like the Rams have one Super Bowl title in their history that Kurt Warner took them to, right? And then the Bengals don't have any. They've never won a Super Bowl. And to me, I don't know, I just feel like sports is more interesting and more engaging when, I know you're a Patriots fan, so like I'm sure it was interesting, engaging for you, but for the rest of the country, it's like,
it's
what
the
the heck is
Patriots
this?
again.
Yeah, it just got so old so fast. So I don't know, there's a lot of really great QBs out there, this young draft class with like Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow and I don't know, Kyler Murray, I'm going to hopefully throw in there and keep my fingers crossed that good things are to come from him. But yeah, I don't know. I'm looking forward to it.
Do you think the style of the game is going to change now? I mean, has it been? It kind of has, right?
It has, because I think Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, they were pocket passers. So if like, and that's not to say that they couldn't scramble, but especially like
Tom Brady
now,
could not scramble.
Yeah, they were stationary, so they had to have this great offensive line. I mean, look at the Bengals right now; they have a horrible offensive line, and they're in the Super Bowl because Joe Burrow knows how to scramble. So I feel like in a lot of ways, the game has already changed and the expectations. If you saw that Chiefs and Bills game, the top rushers in the postseason so far have been Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, like the two QBs.
I love that.
So,
I love that.
Yeah, I think the only thing that needs to change is overtime rules.
Oh
but
my God.
That's another story and topic.
Amen. I know. Yeah. Anyway.
I'm gonna root for the Bengals because I like cats.
Okay. Good reason.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. You know, whatever. Cheers to Tom Brady. He has an amazing career. Amazing career.
Yes.
Whether you loved him or hated him. I mean, there's no debate.
Yeah.
He was the GOAT.
And he's got a hot wife and lots of cool jewelry now. So cheers, bro.
Yep.
Yeah, he's definitely inspiring, motivating.
And he went out on his terms. It wasn't like Tiger Woods where it's like he had all these like personal scandals and then that kind of ruined his career.
The car
whatever.
accident.
Yeah, exactly. Or injury. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So he was good up until the end. I've seen a lot of people today that are like, he has 5 more good years in him.
Oh my God.
They might not be
He'd
wrong.
literally
you
be
know?
49, almost 50 years
I
old.
can see him play that.
Let him just be rich and in his mansion
Yeah.
somewhere and living his life.
I was hoping he'd just try to do one more.
Just one more.
One more. But
Yeah.
it's whatever.
He's got creaky knees now. I don't know.
But speaking of athletes, the Kardashians, because
They are athletic.
they date a lot of athletes.
They
You got
do
some
date
good
a lot of
Your transitions are top
Transition
notch.
here a little
Nicole and
bit.
her transitions.
Hey, I make it work.
Speaking of,
But anyways, yeah, speaking of the Kardashians, Khloe Kardashian has been in the news recently. Not really in the news, I shouldn't say that, but a
she's
lot
been
of
in the gossip
Yeah.
section of Instagram a lot.
Thank you. That's perfectly put. For her Photoshop fail, I'm talking about her sitting in her Range Rover where she is, her face and her hand, in one sense, are just two completely different colors.
She's two
her-
different races, basically.
But if you look at her hand, it straight up just looks like a chicken foot. Please, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, please
It's
just Google this.
I
horrifying.
looked at those pictures, and there was like a set of them.
Yeah.
And I looked at them, and I was like, "Oh, she's pretty here." And I was just like,
And then you zoom in on her hand, and it's like, oh,
see, I didn't
Okay.
catch that. I
Yeah.
just,
Have you
seen
for
it
some
yet?
reason thought it was. Yeah, I did. I've seen it, but when I first saw it, it didn't. It just seemed
No,
normal to me.
Yeah.
that's how I was. And then I started like reading the comments and then seeing more pictures of just it zoomed in on her hand. And I was like,
Yeah.
that can't be right. I went back, and it just got me thinking. Does she get to see her pictures before they're posted, or does her social media manager just post them for her? Because
That's a great
for
question.
me personally,
So
I
how
would.
did that even happen? I'm trying to
That's what
figure
I'm
out.
trying to put together. How did this get past multiple people and then be like, oh yeah, she looks great. Yeah, she looks great. Like the hand is half of the picture. It's a big hand.
It is
a big, long
It is a
hand.
big hand.
My favorite one was like someone called Buffy because that's a vampire hand, like long,
Totally
skinny,
was.
like pale
Oh
It
my
looked like
fingers.
Slender Man.
Yes.
Yeah, some, like,
Nightmares
Freddy
are made
Krueger.
of.
Thank
Or like
Like-
salad fingers. Do you guys remember salad fingers? I like rusty spoons.
Oh my gosh! Like I'm not knocking the Kardashians, but you have
I am.
so much money. How
Is
did
that-
this happen?
How did this? Is that like through Photoshop or something? Like, or was it just like
don't
an
know.
angle?
So what I'm thinking is that she has a lot of self tanner and stuff and bronzer and contour on her face, and she probably upped it on her face in editing, and for some reason didn't add that color to her hands,
Yeah.
or maybe that's her actual color is the one on her hands.
Oh, for
and
sure,
she's
because
just-
she's covered up completely in the
Yeah.
picture. Like
Okay.
arms are covered, legs are covered. So I think she just has too dark like of a foundation on her
Yeah.
face to try and because we all feel more confident when we're a little more tanner. Us women, I feel like. I mean, coming from me, who is extremely white,
like I rock the goth pale, but that's fine.
I know. I have
Yeah,
to like channel my
but-
like inner Nicole Kidman and be like, pale is beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, but all right. So yeah, maybe she like put makeup on or something. But what about her fingers?
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
still
yeah.
long.
That
Well, and that's the
so
thing. Like,
lengthy.
Like, how do you explain that?
is she the
I
same
don't know.
Kardashian that got mad that like her social media person posted that picture without her consent where it wasn't all Photoshopped?
Yep.
This is the same Kardashian,
Yeah.
right? So like that's what's stupid to me is she has this picture that she looks normal and causes a whole big outrage because it didn't get cleared by me. So then that leads me to believe that she does have to clear her stuff.
Yeah.
But clearly not. I don't know. Like, is she okay? Like, did she look at that and was like, yeah, salad fingers.
That's
Looks
it.
good.
Yeah.
Looks
That's
good.
a vibe. Yeah.
That's a total vibe.
I've always wondered that too, though, because I can't picture like Kim Kardashian or any of them sitting like in their living room, like photo editing,
No.
like the rest of us.
No.
Just like, she hands that off to somebody
Oh,
else.
100%.
I saw Kim had one recently too, where she's on the beach and her like calf is shrunk in half. Like they edited out half of her calf, and like everything else is just banging, but then it's just like my little calf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like who? She didn't do that, or I don't know.
I've seen multiple celebrities like do things similar or like Photoshop abs. Like you tell if a guy has Photoshopped abs a lot because his arm will just be like super skinny in one section, and you're like, oh, okay, all right.
Oh, man.
It doesn't fool
Skeletor.
anybody. I've done it. Yeah. They're like, this is suspicious.
But yeah, I don't know. I feel like this can go into a more deeper topic and like body image issues and people just scrolling through Instagram and seeing these perfect celebrities and stuff. But gosh, if I ever become famous, please don't let anyone ever just like edit my photos. I'll just do that. I really don't care. I'll post what I want on my Instagram.
Yeah.
Like it's not that big of a deal to me.
All of you are beautiful, salad fingers and all.
All right, we got to talk about kind of this whole Joe Rogan thing, right? Because it's just been everywhere. Like, I had no concept before this week of just how many people cared about this Fear Factor dude.
Right?
No idea. And what was interesting is like I went to my Instagram and I went to Joe Rogan's page to watch his video because he like issued this apology video, right? So I went to go watch it. And you know how like when you click on Instagram, it shows like who follows? Dude, it's like 90% of the people that I follow. Like everyone I know apparently has been invested in Joe Rogan and his career. And I had no freaking clue.
I mean, he's done a lot. He's done Fear Factor. I've known him through Fear Factor.
Me too.
I've always wanted to be on Fear Factor. But he also like does the calls for like the UFC fights.
UFC.
That's how I know him too, because
Oh.
I do like UFC. Yeah.
Okay. That explains a lot of why, like, because some of the people I was looking at, they were like UFC, like fightery
Yeah.
types. And I was like,
It's either UFC people or people who like to eat bugs.
or them. Yes. Yeah. So obviously there was this whole controversy. If you guys haven't, I don't know. If you've been under a rock for a week, I don't know how you miss it because I feel like it's just been everywhere. But this whole controversy with Joe Rogan's podcast, and this isn't the first time his podcast has been controversial. I feel like
Yeah.
he kind of has made...
It's part of his brand.
Yeah, it's part of his brand, right? Is kind of pissing some people off and riling people up. But so he had the last like couple episodes were specifically about like COVID stuff, and he had some doctors on. One was this doctor that like helped develop a vaccine specifically, and then this other doctor, and they came on and they talked about like COVID stuff, and multiple celebrities, musicians, artists kind of got up in arms about it and said, it's spreading misinformation.
So the
and-
doctors were saying that the COVID vaccine is bad, right? Like, so they were spreading information like anti-COVID vaccine.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, a bunch of celebrities. I mean, the big long list it started with Neil Young, but then it like expanded out to Joni Mitchell and like even
Dave
like,
Grohl.
yeah, and the Meghan Markle and whatever, were like all came out and kind of talked about it, right? And so then that kind of forced Spotify's hand a little bit because people were protesting Spotify, and I know I saw a lot of people that were like, "I'm canceling my subscription" and all this
Seriously?
stuff. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I will never cancel my
I was like, good for you, but I need to listen to music.
Dude, I consume so much Spotify.
Same.
God.
I know. Well, and so so it was interesting because I feel like over the past week I've seen like a lot of takes.
Yeah.
From people that are anti censorship to people that are like but he has a platform and he needs to be responsible for the stuff that he puts on his platform. And I'm the type of person where I love to digest like as many opinions as possible.
Yeah. I think that's what the purpose of his podcast is, because he has a bunch of I'm not an avid listener, but I've had like guests that I'm interested in, like Kanye, be on this podcast and just like shoot the shit and just just kick it and just talk.
Yeah.
And really get to know people. And I don't think, at least from the episodes that I have listened to, I don't think he's like telling anybody that their way is the only way. I don't know. For me, this whole thing is stupid. This whole thing is just dumb. To me, it just feels like these artists weren't getting enough play on Spotify. And so they were like,
You're not listening to Neil Young every day on Spotify, Alex?
So yeah, they decided to go against the guy that's probably getting the most listens every month on Spotify.
I do think that if you have a large platform like that, you do have some responsibility to be mindful of what you say. And I will admit I've never listened to the Joe Rogan podcast. From what I've read about him and like his opinions, we don't have a lot of similar opinions. But at the same time, he did issue that statement that he's going to try harder to have like, you know, more diverse opinions on the show, which I respect. So I don't know. I could go both ways on it. Like, I personally think Joe Rogan sucks, but do I think that Spotify should take down his entire podcast? No. Like, if he's on there, obviously, if any podcast is up there, like, spreading, like, white supremacist views, then take that shit down. Like,
that's
homophobia or anything like that.
Hate speech.
That's hate speech.
Exactly.
Yeah. And he's bringing in professionals, experts in their fields to talk about their opinions. That's what science is. It's hypothesis is. You know, just people putting data together and then creating an opinion. You know, that's all it is. And, you know, he was like, okay, these people are respectable in their fields. Let's hear what they have to say. I think he's had Sanjay Gupta on there too. So, you know, there's two, you know, sides of the spectrum. And I think what Spotify is doing and what, you know, Joe Rogan is talking about, like adding those disclaimers, I'm surprised that didn't happen before.
Right.
Like, this should have already been happening. But it should also, you know, it also be used for everybody. You know, if it's Fauci or like anybody representing the CDC, like having a disclaimer and being like, here's some access to like some, you know,
more
some data
sources
and some
or
more
whatever.
resources or information.
I'm all about links to resources. I'm definitely about responsible science and things that have been peer reviewed and have been proved by multiple studies. And I mean, it's easy to call anything, quote, science, and that doesn't actually make it science, you know? Like, there's definitely a difference between proven science and someone's opinion, which is fine. If Joe Rogan has an opinion podcast, that is totally his right. All day, have an opinion podcast.
I have a little weird feeling with science because science, you know, justified, you know, doing some horrible things to black people.
Yeah, that's true.
And, you know, it gets kind of weird. But, I mean, and I'm not saying that, like, you know, stuff like the vaccine isn't working because obviously people have been dying less since the vaccine's been available. But, you know, there's also other alternatives. It doesn't have to just be
one way or the other.
Exactly. And I think that was, like, kind of him talking about, he was talking about, I'm going to bring in more people. And, you know, it didn't the guests that I have weren't necessarily talking about like wasn't really connecting with like the mainstream sort of like information on COVID. And I think that's important. I think we need to have, you know, different opinions on things from different experts to kind of like have an understanding of it. There's proven science and that there's just, I think just because it is COVID, it's just so hard because essentially nobody really knows anything.
It's still, I mean, I think, again,
I wouldn't say
like
anything. Obviously, we've been in it for a few years.
I mean, we better know something by now. Shit.
So, I mean, if you look at the past couple of years, I mean, how many times has it been like, don't do this? Well, just kidding, do this. Or now do this.
Now
or the
you need
CDC's
this
like,
mask,
now it's this. And you're like, what the hell? Like, what is right?
Consistency has been wash your hands, social distance,
take your
wear
vitamins,
a mask, keep your ass at home.
Yeah, for real.
That's been the most consistent messaging.
Well, and the thing for me about that I kind of took away from that, because I haven't listened to a single episode of the Joe Rogan podcast. I don't really plan to, mostly because most of the people that like I know, they're like, Joe Rogan, or like gym bros, and I'm like, we're not the same, you and I. But my biggest takeaway is just the importance of like personal responsibility. And like if you're letting ideas become ideology and become your whole identity, that is problematic. Like if you are listening to anybody, whether it's Joe Rogan, your favorite podcast person or your favorite musician or your favorite actor or whoever, if you're listening to this person and you're going, my whole identity now and the things that I believe and the person that I am is completely wrapped up in this idea.
Cult of personality.
And that's why I like
that's a
Aziz
problem.
Ansari's special, because, I was talking about like the algorithms and people just staying to like that content and pretty much just diving themselves into it and it becoming their entire identity without, any other sort of perspective or thought.
Yeah.
My thing is too is like how many other people on Spotify or just any other podcast platform are talking about the same thing Joe Rogan is talking about, but not getting any hate or like backlash for it because they're not as big or listened to as he is. But like I said, I don't really know much. I read articles and stuff to kind of get the background and stuff on it, but like learning more that he is bringing these professionals on and he's still getting the hate for it. Whereas, once again, I'm going to bring it up. Like these other people could be talked about, but not have any professionals just talking out of their butt because they want to. Like,
he does have like a really big platform.
It's like the number one
I
podcast,
think
isn't
is.
it?
I think
Yeah.
it is. It's going to be number 2 soon after Pop Culture Junkies. Number 1.
Yes. I will say in his like apology video or whatever that he issued, like, or his explanation, I don't know if you'd even call it an apology. I do think he seemed to at least recognize the issue. And also, I got the sense a little bit that like he was kind of just like, I'm just like talking to people and like I'm kind of just like a dummy who just talks to people.
For sure.
He is, yeah. He came across very just like, I'm just kind of like dumb. I don't know anything, so I'm just like talking to these people. And I'm like, at the very least, like I just wish more people were like that and were willing to be like, I don't know. Like, I just don't know everything, and I'm willing to, like, get correction. Like, at one point, he was like, I'm glad that some people give me hate and stuff, because it does cause me to, like, self-reflect and think about. So I'm like, I just hope that that's sincere.
Yeah.
I think so.
Trevor Noah even said, like, he thought it was kind of a nice statement / apology. Like,
I think he's a reasonable guy. I know he has, like, different opinions from, like, a lot of people, but I think he does take the time. And I think in the explanation, he kind of showed that. Yeah. Kind of just like, I take responsibility for what this is. I brought in these guests. We had these conversations. Maybe I'll expand more and, ask other people different types of questions.
Yeah. In conclusion, I'm never going to listen to the Joe Rogan podcast.
I'm not either. But you know what, though? I don't listen to a whole crap ton of podcasts. There's so much information out there that you really do have to, like, filter through. And I think it's just a good lesson about personal responsibility and about like the content you consume. My students right now they're doing research projects on controversial issues in my classes. And so I try to point them to, like, I send them to allsides.com where it shows all these different articles, but from like all across the political spectrum.
Oh, that's
and so
interesting.
They get to see kind of both sides of a single issue and
form their own opinion on it.
And form their own opinion, exactly. And I just feel like, I know growing up, I was kind of fed one narrative my whole life. And it wasn't until I got older until I was like, oh, like, I need to actually explore this stuff like on my own.
Completely
and
the same.
Figure it out, So I think it's important, but you just can't let entertainment become your source of education too.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
This is a Joe Rogan experience. It's a Fear Factor guy.
Totally.
Like, come on,
dude. Totally.
Yeah.
Listen, like, you can listen to anything and like
take it with a grain of salt,
And
like,
think
for
that,
sure.
The guests on his show aren't that interesting. I don't. Like I said, I only listen to shows of guests that I'm into.
Yeah.
And it's only really been Kanye.
They're certainly not as interesting as the guests on the Pop Culture Junkie podcast.
Shout out to our guests.
Our guests have been great.
Yeah, but doesn't that get you thinking about just like fan service and like the power that these fans, or even like now even celebrities have in kind of just directing what corporations or these production companies like end up doing? Because even Spotify's stocks like went down because of Neil Young threatening Spotify. Actually, I think I saw James Blunt threatening to release music if
I saw one about Nickelback too.
Yeah, that's I saw one about, I think maybe just memes, but yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I feel like there's all this demand and pressure that's put on these, these powerhouses to make these decisions based on what the fans feel. And it doesn't even have to be like on controversial issues. Like
it could be like a Marvel movie.
like the Snyder Cut and all those like other like
Yeah, like how many fans were all disappointed at the end of WandaVision because Mephisto didn't show up. And I was like, you guys, at no point did they promise you that that was going to happen.
No.
So like you're the ones that just set yourself up for disappointment. And I feel like that happens a lot. Like, or like fan casting. Like I know I've seen a lot of people that are like, if John Krasinski isn't Reed Richards, then what's the point of Fantastic Four? And I'm like, please announce the cast and not have to.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't want it to be John Krasinski just because then it's validating what all these fans have been.
I do think, like, I mean, you and I fan casted a couple episodes ago. So, like, I think it's a fine line between, like, this would be really cute and I would really enjoy this. And then some people who actually get pissed off when it doesn't happen.
Yeah, and they just keep going.
Exactly. Like, that's that fine line there where I'm like, oh, it would be so sick if Rahul Kohli was in the MCU. But if it doesn't happen, I'm not going to, like, you know, tweet at Marvel and be like, how dare you? I'll just, I don't know. Like, it's
only hill I will die on is that they made that cartoon Scoob movie and they didn't even bother asking Matthew Lillard to play
no, I'm
Shaggy.
pissed about that. That's messed
Yeah,
up.
I agree with that one.
I will die on that hill.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like I think you have to listen to your fans in one sense because they're the ones who are paying the bills, really. But at the end of the day, fans need to step back and if they want to be entertained, then be entertained and let like
those things that people love so much just popped out of nowhere. It wasn't because people were forcing it.
It's not because fans manifested them. Yeah.
You know, and also I wonder like how much that limits creativity.
Yeah.
You know, like because the pressure of making this be exactly how that group wants it. When you first made this, it was all about you and the passion that you have.
Making art, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm reading a book right now and it's kind of interesting. Like it's, I don't know, what if all of these social media giants took over the world kind of thing. And one of their initiatives in this company is to edit books that have already been made, but to edit them to more of fans' liking.
Oh, God.
It's so funny. I mean, it's a satire, but it's just horrifying. Like they're going back and like rewriting all of these historical classics. Like, well, our algorithms, that's the word of the episode, our algorithms have showed that most readers would have preferred if this character would have lived. So we're going to like rewrite the book and burn all the old copies.
Isn't that like What If? That
kind of, yeah. A little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing, and this is a harsh reality for fans to realize and accept. And I know it's one that like I've had to even accept too as a fan and a creative, is like if I was talented enough to create this stuff, I would be creating this stuff. I would not be sitting at home eating bonbons and consuming hours and hours upon Netflix if I was smart and intelligent enough to be the one creating it.
Yeah.
So fans sometimes need to take a reality check and realize your fan fiction, well, you may think it's Nobel Prize worthy, right? Only has 4 views on Archive of Our Own.
3 of them are probably me.
Doesn't need, and you know, and I know we've all seen stuff. Arrow is the one that comes to mind where like Oliver and Felicity got together and it just ruined the show.
My God, yeah.
But it was fans.
All of us.
It was fans demanding it, and like even I shipped
I wasn't.
it.
I did not ship that
Okay,
at all.
Real.
I shipped it, and a lot of fans did. But the way they executed it was like straight out of fan fiction.
It was so
and it just
forced.
Probably
destroyed
what
it.
it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
I shipped him with Laurel.
Yeah, that was cute.
I mean, that was the comic accurate
Exactly.
relationship, you know. But whatever. I don't know. Fans ruin everything. I'm glad I got off Twitter.
Fans ruin everything we say on our pop culture podcast.
If you're a fan of anything, you are the worst.
Except for if you're a fan of the Pop Culture
Correct.
Junkie podcast.
And if you have any
On Audible.
suggestions,
now on Audible.
if you would like to suggest anything for our show, any changes, you can go write your own Pop Culture Junkie fan fiction on
Oh my
AO3.
God. I would be horrified, but also very flattered if we had a Pop Culture Junkie podcast fanfic.
We're like, who do you guys ship? Come on,
Who do
be
you
honest.
ship? I ship me and Nicole.
Who doesn't?
We can explore that.
Okay.
Sorry, Andrew.
Sorry. Not sorry.
Oh, man. And suddenly we got a lot more downloads on this episode. Wondering where that's going to go.
Oh, man. Okay. Well,
On that note,
yeah.
speaking of shipping, wait.
Speaking of crack ships,
Speaking of the Pop Culture Junkie podcast.
now on Audible.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Let's wrap this bad boy up.
Yeah, I
like
don't
a
really know
burrito.
how to transition into that. So why don't we all just say our links and where our listeners can find us?
You can find me, Alex, at ALCASNUN on Instagram and Twitter.
You can find me, Shauna Trinidad, on Instagram and Twitter at Shauna Trinidad, SHAUNATRINIDAD.
And you can find me, Hayley the Brave, on Instagram at 30 Nerdy Thriving.
You can find me, Nicole, on Instagram and TikTok at Nicole_Eldridge and on Twitter at NAEldridge14. You can find the Pop Culture Junkie podcast on Facebook at Pop Culture Junkie Podcast. And don't forget to join our Pop Culture Junkie support group. You can follow us on Twitter at Pop Junkies, on Instagram at Pop.Culture Junkies, and you can always go straight to our website, popculturejunkie.com, to find any of these links and to read any of the stories that are up there, buy some merch and all that good jazz. And I'm very excited for next week, so be sure to come back for that. We are going to be watching The Lake House with another Keanu 101, and I'm very excited because my girl Sandra Bullock's in that.
I'm going to cry.
Just in time for Valentine's Day.
Bree watched it before, and because she's watching it is probably why I feel more comfortable watching it, because I don't think I can watch it by myself.
You're going to cry. You're going to cry.
Very
It's beautiful.
emotional.
Good to know. Well, anyways, come back next week for another hit of pop culture.
Pop Culture Junkie is a production of Pop Culture Entertainment Group. All rights reserved.